All right, for those of you who were just in the last session, welcome back. We hope that you experience a good sense of that spark or intellectual fireworks. For those of you who are just joining us, we are so glad that you're here to experience this. Much learning and growth actually happens outside of the classroom. No matter who your student is, what their interests are, what drives their passions, it is a guarantee that a significant amount of their learning experience will take place through the many opportunities and resources our college has to offer. Again, I'm Rachel Bucant, Senior Associate Dean of Students, and I'm going to introduce our panelists from a sample of those resources who will showcase some of Williams' comprehensive extracurricular activities. So we have Mike Evans, Deputy Director of Sustainable Campus Sustainability, Paula Consolini, the Adam Falk Director of the Center for Learning in Action, and newly arrived to our campus, Akila Edgerton, our Deputy Director of the Davis Center and Pathways to Inclusive Excellence. All right, and with that, I am turning it over to these three. Thank you.
Well, I guess I'll start. Welcome. As Rachel said, I'm Paula Consolini, run the Center for Learning and Action. Oops, you need the mic, sorry. All right, do we have to turn it on? No, okay, sorry. Paula Consolini, Director of the Center for Learning and Action. Delighted to be here to share with you the work that some of your folks are doing in the community and how my office helps. The Center for Learning and Action is assigned, so to speak, to connect the curriculum and the campus to the community, which means helping faculty with learning by doing in the curriculum and helping students with learning by serving in the community. We support curricular as well as extracurricular activities. Usually on average around 30 to 40 courses during the academic year, and usually 40 to 50 student groups, some expressly focused on community service, but many not, many just wanting to do something in the community. And we support all of that to the extent that folks come to us and are interested. We run our own programming, most notably in the public schools, so that students can step in and participate as teachers, mentors, tutors, and also on a curricular side, helping create curriculum and design innovative curriculum, which they do through a variety of mechanisms. They also get to teach in the local schools through a course taught by Susan Engel, the director of the program in teaching. We, in addition to running programs, and these are partnership programs with faculty, with student groups, with other offices, we also support students developing their own projects, and there are a variety of mechanisms to do that. I'm not going to go into detail on all of this because it's all on our website, learninginactionwilliams.edu. You can take a look, but I'll give you a couple of highlights of the kind of work that goes on, and then you'll be able to hear from my colleagues about the work that they do. I'll first mention, as I started to, the schools. We run programming in 5 schools on a regular basis, and specialty programming with community partners, with school partners, when they call on us to help them set up a program and they want Williams students to participate. In addition to that work that's on an ongoing basis, including the work through the courses that connect up with the schools, there's faculty organizing research on youth in the schools, sometimes around social and emotional development. We also see student groups that are interested in working in the community, and we match them up with community partners in schools beyond the region. The region right now is the Northern Berkshires, where most of the schools we partner with, Southern Vermont, Pownell, and then work in the Pittsfield Public Schools with partners who innovate in programming there. In addition to the school work, there's work with elders. So not just K-12 partnerships, but work with elders in our region. And the key program that we support there is a student group called Senior Tech Tutoring, or Senior Center Tech Tutoring, where, as you can imagine, our students just walk in and take appointments where people ask them for help with their cell phones and their computers. One thing about that program, which is great, it's really drop in from a student standpoint because they don't really have to do much preparation. Anything they know is going to be useful to the people that they work with. And that is a wildly popular program in the community. And as of last year, there were upwards of 80 Williams students who had participated. So that's one of those easy entry opportunities. With food insecurity work, there's a group called RAPS, Williams Recovery of All Perishable Surplus. That organization takes food that was made in the dining halls but unserved. They repackage it into packaging that can be frozen. It gets frozen in partnership with our dining services program, and then the students in that group deliver those meals to a variety of locations. There's a housing community, low-income housing community in North Adams called Mohawk Forest, where the meals are regularly delivered, and then there's other communities and programs around. Roots Teen Center, which has a freezer that was shared with them through a program we organized, and those folks get access to frozen meals. And on an ad hoc basis, other organizations that work with youth or with families in need will ask for more meals to be delivered to them. The newest in that list is United Cerebral Palsy, that runs an early intervention education program, has asked that we participate, and we've arranged for a freezer to be brought there, and they now are accepting meals that they can give out to the families of the children that they work with, all of whom are challenged in some way, but particularly economically challenged. So there's food work, there's work with elders, there's work with youth, and then there's work that really helps students get a certification and use a skill that very few people in the community have. And that example of that is the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, which is both a winter study course and a volunteer opportunity. Students get certified to be volunteer income tax preparers. They do so through our program that we start at the end of January, run through the spring. And when they do that work, they are in touch with folks who really wouldn't be able to do their own taxes and will always have to pay a substantial amount of money to do it. We have upwards of 18 to 20 people volunteering every year with us through the spring term, and many students come back to do that same work again. That's a great program where really people in the community who need it couldn't do anything like that themselves, and there aren't other programs like it except for the AARP program, which does that for seniors. We do this work for low-income working people, and are one of the offices, one of the programs in the northern area. There are other programs run by entities in the center of the county, but we're one of the key ones that does the work up here. Finally, I'll share with you one of the most exciting new projects and an ask from the people on this team. We have a passenger rail restoration research team, which got going a couple of summers ago at the behest of a legislator who said it was an issue that we should be paying attention to and that it had potential. And that is the restoration of passenger rail from here, North Adams essentially, to Boston. There used to be trains here as late as the late 50s. They've been stopped. Our students started tackling this issue, paid attention to it, created a website. A few of them did some research over the summer with faculty on the potential economic benefits, the potential environmental benefits, and the third student worked on the challenges of political persuasion with the legislature at the state to get something like this passed. There's been a study. Our students have been pushing people to pay attention, and their ask is that you consider taking one of these small leaflets, and even as visitors, weigh in with legislators, particularly the ones who serve this area, and say to them that you're in favor of this, or you would think that they should look into it more, because this would be a huge boon to our region. And certainly students that we've talked with have said it'd be a huge boon to them, because getting to Boston, even if you're back from Boston when you've been on a plane, is quite a challenge here, because there's no real significant public transit. It's a series of steps that could take you literally all day to get here. So that's a kind of a project that we're excited about, because it partners up with faculty doing academic work, research work, but it also gets students energized about how they can advocate in the wider community. And they've done a lot of great creative work. Their page is on our website, and you can see just some of the work that they've engaged in there. So as I've shared with you, there's a wide range of ways students get engaged. I've just given you the tip of the iceberg, but I'm hopeful that you'll share with your students what possibilities you see, but also encourage them to reach out to me and my team at clea@williams.edu. Simple email address. They can email us or show up at our open office hours on Thursdays around lunchtime, where our team, members of our team, are always ready to hear what people's ideas are, to help match them up with an opportunity, and to connect them to programs that we run and the programs that we support and are encouraging them to participate in, run by our partners, these other campus entities. So I'll stop there and let you all carry on.
Hello, everyone. Oh, I can hear myself. All right. My name is Akila Edgerton, and I am the new Deputy Director of the Davis Center and Pathways to Inclusive Excellence. And I am literally just wrapping up my second week at Williams. And I am excited to be here with all of you and my fellow panelists to talk more about the work of the Davis Center. And I want to thank you all in this space for sending your kids, your students here. Since I've been here for the past few weeks, it has been an honor to begin to connect with our students, to have conversations, learn about their own experiences in ways that we can continue to support them. So I really hope that partnership continues, and I'm happy to be in community with all of you on today. So when we think about the work of the Davis Center, there's a few things that come to mind, and it's support, education, leadership, and dialogue. And we do that a variety of ways. So we have student groups that we advise, and these are student groups who it's based on social identities. And when we say social identities, we're talking about race, ethnicity, class, different things like that. And we look through very much an intersectional lens. And having an opportunity to connect with the students gives us space to lean in, for them to learn, from us to learn from them, and to partner and co-create the environment of belonging and inclusion. I will say continue to do that because we're doing amazing work. Continue to co-create an environment of inclusion and equity and belonging here on campus. Also, we have a wonderful brand new building, and if y'all have not had the opportunity to tour the new Davis Center, please feel free to do so. It was just open last spring, is that correct? Okay, it was just open last spring, and that is a place where we can continue to do intentional programming with our community. It is a multicultural space, so all students, all faculty, all staff are welcome just to be in that space. Some of the highlights that we may use the Davis Center space for is intentional student programming. Our students come from a variety of lived experiences, geographic locations, and they really love to celebrate their identities, lean into various conversations, whether they be difficult conversations, and sometimes they will have their own programming there. Also, we have a kitchen. We know that, and our students have let us know that food is really important for them as they're celebrating their identities, as they're building community, building coalition. So we have a beautiful kitchen where our students have the opportunity to cook, to be in community, and really feel like they have something that is connected to their home and to who they are as individuals. We also have a movie series, so there's times we may show a movie and we'll have a talk back. We also facilitate various workshops, so it could be anything from Identity 101 to understanding and reducing microaggressions and dialogue facilitation as well. We also have kind of like lunch and learn spaces. So we may share a meal, we may share lunch, and have different conversations that are pertaining to various social justice or various issues that might be happening in the United States and also in the globe as well. And then there's times where we'll just hold space. And holding space for one another is so important. And what that looks like is we will have times where the community can come and engage with us and dialogue with us as well. And we know that the work of social justice is not always linear. And we know sometimes, things can happen. It's a complex field and it's complex ideologies and different things like that. And so that's a lot of times where the dialogue comes in. We want to make sure that we are creating a space where our community members, and I want to be clear when I say community, our staff, our faculty, and our students feel like their voices can be heard, where they feel like they can be valued, where they are seen. And so those dialogues really are important for our community, even if, again, they may be difficult dialogues, but we want to make sure that we are creating that space that we can hear the voice of our community. So as Paula said, there's a lot more that goes into the Davis Center, so those are just some of the highlights. Feel free to look at our diversity, equity, and inclusion website on the Williams web. You can also reach me at AE16 at williams.org. I'm happy to answer any additional questions or anything you may need to know. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Mike Evans, Deputy Director for Campus Sustainability in the Zilkha Center for the Environment. Really happy to be here with you all and with you all too. It's great to be up here with Paul and Akila. We do a lot of cross-programming. Our office does that with the Davis Center, OIDEI, and CLIA. So it's nice. We'll talk a little bit about that too. Zilkha Center for the Environment works to make the college more sustainable in terms of how it operates. So it's operationalizing sustainability across campus, working on policy, and then doing co-curricular work with students. For campus sustainability, we think about lots of the sustainability issue areas: energy and greenhouse gas emissions. There's overlap between all these. Buildings, creating more sustainable buildings when we decide to build them as a college. Thinking about how we working towards moving towards zero waste, sustainable food, land use. So that's a little bit about campus sustainability, like the issue areas. We also do programming. Log Lunch is a very popular program on every Friday during the academic year at the Log, which is on Spring Street. It's run by Ramuntos, except on Friday afternoons when college students take it over and cook a delicious vegetarian meal, and we bring in an environmental speaker. We pack that place, and it's really wonderful. Tied into that, there's programming, career conversation programming. So yesterday's Log Lunch brought in the director of the World Resources Institute, and then there's coupled programming for students to sit down in small groups with those speakers and learn about how they got there, right? So it's just a really wonderful programming. We also run the Hopkins Memorial Forest, which is a low-impact recreation and research forest. It's about a 5-minute drive or a 20-minute walk that direction. Students work with faculty to do research there, but it also has a nice little running or walking or hiking loop. Student caretakers, so interns, work with the Hopkins Forest Manager to also do programming for elementary school students. There's a fall festival that happened a few weeks ago. There's Maple Fest, so in March when the sap is flowing, there's a little sugar shack out there, and so you can come out for pancakes. So you all should come out for pancakes and maple syrup made right on site. We're also the administrative home of the Environmental Justice Clinic, where faculty, staff, and students are working in marginalized communities that are really facing the brunt of environmental injustices, to do research that can help strengthen those communities and sort of prepare legal teams to be able to fight some battles that are really important. Thinking about working with our colleagues here, we run a program called Winter Blitz that goes out into the community, so doing community service, working with CLIA as well to weatherize homes to make sure that they are reducing greenhouse gas emissions, making it more comfortable for low-income residents in the area. We also run an orientation program in partnership with the Davis Center called Root that welcomes students to Williams through the lens of sustainability, social identity, and environmental justice, and takes field trips in the area. So welcoming them to campus in general, but thinking about how do we approach those topics in an intersectional way? Let me just look at my notes to see what else. And then during the, two other things to mention. We have a summer grants program that students, when they're looking for internships off campus around the country in the environmental field, if they find one that's unpaid, they can apply for funding with us to be able to pay for that internship. We also have lots of on-campus internships for students to be the chefs for log lunch, to work on campus sustainability issues, so really thinking about how do we make change at a college, how do we think about navigating the institution, because everyone's on board with sustainability, but it's hard to figure out how do we meaningfully reduce plastic? How are we working to reduce energy in these various corners of campus? Hopkins Forest internships, and different internships both during the academic year and the summer. So great to see you all. Rachel, Dean Buchanz, if you have questions for us, or we can open it up to you all.
Yeah, if you have any questions, I'm going to do my best to capture the core of the question and repeat it back.
Back there. Yeah, I'm interested in what is Williams, what's the current kind of project for sustainability on the campus? Like, where are you in your sort of zero emissions goal, and what's the thing you're tackling right now, and what's the thing you're going to be, moving to next? Like, can you just explain a little bit how that's going at Williams?
So sorry, I just want to repeat the question. We want to look at what the current project is for sustainability. There might be some issues around zero emissions. So what is the big project that we're working on now?
Yeah, great question. Thank you so much. It's like I queued you up. Not a plant. Yes, the college has had different greenhouse gas emissions reductions goals. In 2015, the president and the board of trustees set a goal for 2020 to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from a baseline by 2020. The college almost achieved that, did not, and then started buying carbon offsets in that year. Carbon offsets are challenging, right? Like we worked with stakeholders on campus to buy offsets with important co-benefits to support communities that those offsets were a part of. Now we are 3 years into campus decarbonization, trying to working with engineers to think about how do we drastically reduce burning fossil fuels on campus, switching from the central heating plant, which burns mostly natural gas, to electrify campus and thinking about the heating source being from geothermal or air source heat pumps. So we're in conversation. I lead a bi-monthly Northeast sustainability dialogue with colleges all over who are tackling the same issue. We're all on the same team trying to figure out how do we do this well and quickly. And it's a long-term project which will be disruptive to the campus in terms of needing to switch out, dig up some lines and switch some things out, but really important for the campus goals. Back in 2019, when President Mandel came to Williams, she said, "I love planning. The college has never had a strategic plan. Let's do some planning work and identify diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility and sustainability as cross-cutting commitments that everyone should think about." So campus decarbonization is a huge project for the college. And there are also, that's one issue area. We also have a zero waste action plan, thinking about how to recirculate materials, right? Recycling and compost collection is important, but that's also going to be disposed of somewhere. So we're thinking about, well, how do we repurpose furniture and repurpose other things? And we work on a lot of issues on sustainable food, reducing the greenhouse gas, the carbon footprint of the food that dining purchases. The college signed on to the Cool Food Pledge. So there are a number of different things, but campus decarbonization is the biggest, I would say.
Thank you, Mike. All right, over here, got two. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. About carbon offsets, you said that you were trying to reduce your carbon footprint, and you didn't reach that goal. So you're looking at carbon offsets. What's that? Examples.
The question is, what are carbon offsets and some examples?
Yeah, so I'll be brief here. Carbon offsets are investing in projects elsewhere that meaningfully reduce greenhouse gas emissions in an additional way. And because an entity, Williams, is paying for that, then we can claim those carbon offsets even though we're not doing it here. Our approach to carbon offsets and greenhouse gas emissions is we want to do everything possible for us to reduce on campus. And we are constantly questioning carbon neutrality, right? We are measuring a lot of the things we're doing. We're not measuring everything. We do think driving down greenhouse gas emissions is important. One example of a project that the college invested in was for clean cook stoves in Honduras. So some of the social co-benefits are, and health co-benefits are, increasing the indoor air pollutants for people in those communities, and it's also reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So that's one example. We are teaching a winter study course this year that is looking at the college's decarbonization goals, also looking at our carbon offset investments to ensure that they are really high quality. We want to make sure that we're doing better over time and also reducing our reliance on carbon offsets.
Thanks again, Mike. Another question here?
We've heard, or I've heard, I guess, several times over the weekend how Williams is on the native lands of the Stockbridge-Muncie community. And so my question is, how is Williams, or how are the students in particular, interfacing or interacting with members of that?
So the question is related to that we've heard some comments and narratives around being on the native land of Stockbridge-Muncie, and what is it that we're doing as a campus, and is there more that you can explain and expand on there?
Okay. I think we'll tag team here, Akil and me. I've been around a little bit longer. There's an office, a tribal preservation office, the Mohican, Stockbridge-Muncie Mohican office, which the college has provided an office for here in town on Spring Street, and they have had opportunities for interns, student interns who've participated. Their students have taken this very seriously and have developed a lot of great ideas, have pressed the college to address not just in terms of an acknowledgement, but to go further. And the office of the OIDEI office has been the central liaison for that work, but it's expanded beyond just one office's relationship. And an example through our work has been that a student who worked with us in our community outreach program, not this past summer, but the summer before, learned of the issues with Hopkins Forest and the fact that there was not an acknowledgement and there wasn't any information about the origins there. And so worked with the Tribal Preservation Office, came up with the language that was appropriate, negotiated with the various committees that are relevant, and now the signage is there with some historical information as well. So there are steps like that that are being taken in a variety of programs, but also a lot of work being done through courses. So there are students who participated in Christine DeLucia's courses on the Native American challenges and issues and history here, and she's done a great job and had students do various projects with various entities, including the Stockbridge-Muncie, but then extending out and connecting up with communities where change needs to take place, but usually under the guidance of that office. If you want to say more.
Yeah, and in addition to all the things Paula just said, I'm thinking about the programming aspects. So for instance, when I arrived about a week or so ago, I feel like I've been here for a while, y'all. Like, we've been doing some really great work. But we had intentional programming around Indigenous identity. And I also know that is very much, the programming moving forward is around the Indigenous identity and, Stockbridge-Muncie and going, expanding as well. Also coming up, we have what's called Claiming Williams, which is in February, and one of our speakers has an Indigenous identity, and so we're excited to have her on campus. So we're really trying to really be intentional about bringing in the history and, understanding what that means and how to, really expand our connections with the larger community.
That's great. Thanks, Akila and Paula. And Akila for jumping in really quick, right? So it's good.
I'm curious to know about the international opportunities for Williams students.
So the question is what the international opportunities are for Williams students. Do you want me to take that one? Or do you want to start,
I
Paula?
can start a little
Okay.
bit. So Rachel can tell you all about the Study Away Office and all those opportunities. There are, through Winter Study, opportunities for students to participate in travel winter study courses that faculty lead, but there are also opportunities for students to do their own projects and work internationally by applying for what's called a Winter Study 99 or a Winter Study Independent Study. And the committee right now, I serve on that committee, and they're reviewing all the applications and the proposals. And then there's fellowship funding for those that need more money than financial aid can offer. In terms of volunteer work in the community, there are opportunities for students to work in other places, work internationally, and students have done this kind of work over the summer. They can get fellowship funding for that kind of work. There are also opportunities for students to work with organizations that we have partnerships with. And the one I'll mention as the highlight is NIANAM, which is an organization in Kenya, co-founded by a Williams alum, which supports the training and economic development opportunities for widows in Kenya, who historically have a great deal of trouble. We have a partnership with that organization where when students donate books to this at the end of the school year that they don't need, we work with an entity to get money for those books, and then all that money goes to NIANAM. And we've had students do project work over the summer, over winter study, and now we expect to have a project that'll be involved with public health students in a capstone course this spring, doing some analytics for that organization because they have a lot of data, but they don't have anybody to help them analyze it. So we have those kinds of relationships, sometimes more deeply with one entity, but then students identify organizations that they care about and are often able to get support to do work, winter study, or a research project during the year, or research or advocacy work over the summer.
All right, and so I think Paula captured a lot of the work that domestic and international students can do with other folks, but if you're asking specifically about international students, we have an office that supports international students, and that starts with kind of onboarding them over the summer. They have a pre-orientation program. All first-gen students also have a pre-orientation program, so they can have some special programming and get acclimated before all of the rest of the students come to campus. And throughout the year, there's programming all the time. So there's circles that we do with the students and with faculty and staff. There's like training and presentations specifically for international students. But then we also have a group of students who have a registered student organization, so they put on programs as well. So it's a pretty robust program. Our director of international student services and the dean and the assistant director are attending a conference to kind of promote and boost more of those things starting this weekend. So there's a lot happening and to also integrate all the students from different backgrounds together, so it's not feeling like you just belong to a separate group.
How's the outreach to the first year students? Is it emails that you guys reach out and then they gotta come back? Or if people are, on sustainability, they would be interested, they'll seek you out. But if in general, how is the outreach?
How is the outreach to first year students? So our dean, Christina Walsh, who is our dean for first year students, cannot be here today. She really wanted to. She did test positive for COVID, even though she's someone that's very, very careful. But anyway, over the summer, I think maybe your students or you yourselves have received some communication. So she does newsletters every single week, and she does partner with everyone on the stage and everyone on campus. And so every week there's like a different video that goes out kind of talking about different things, and Mike Evans and his team is very involved in those kinds of communications. Then during what we call our first days orientation, there's a lot of different programming that happens related to all the different types of things that you could do in the classroom and outside the classroom. So there's a big push. And then throughout all 4 years, we do use email to correspond with folks, but we also try to, as much as we can, do a lot of communication on social media and getting the word out through student leaders. We're a pretty small campus, so we do a good job getting the word out to our students, but there's still lots of ways that we're trying to do it better. And those of us who have student workers in our office, we're always asking them, how do we get the word out? How do we get people engaged and involved and interested and wanting to do more of that work?
And Rachel, could I just add?
Yes, please.
Those weekly emails that come out from Dean Walsh are great, and they do partner with our offices. The one that came out end of July that was focusing on sustainability, we talked about a tag sale that the First Congregational Church, that's in the middle of campus but not part of the college, partners on this move out donation program that's run by CLIA. Students, when they're leaving campus, can, instead of throwing things away, can give things up in a pod that's like a moving storage pod that's outside of their buildings, and it goes to the church. They sort it and sell it back for like $1 and $2 a piece. So there's lots of opportunity rather than running off to Walmart or getting lots of stuff shipped to Amazon. Like that was in that communication in the end of July, and we're trying to make sure that we're all like buried under lots of emails coming at us, but we're trying to like sort of shout about these things that we want people to know about. And then when students get to campus, they go through the orientation program, they start learning about registered student organizations and clubs, and then each of our offices has listservs, like Google Group listservs or newsletters and social media to try to get the word out, to connect to students if and when they want to come to us to learn more.
And then to add to that, we do a lot of in-person programming, in-person outreach in terms of, we have an open, as I mentioned, open office hours. We hang out in Paresky at lunchtime with snacks and stickers, which is what people seem to like these days, and we just talk with folks. So we encourage them to stop by so they can learn more, and then we talk about a variety of programs, and if someone shows an interest in some area that's relevant to the Davis Center, we're like, oh, you need to go talk. So we try to use the sort of in-person to supplement all of that and all that's been referenced here. And we know that more of that does need to happen sometimes because of the deluge of information that people get.
This is very true.
There are many, many opportunities I'm hearing about here. Do you have any advice for the students on how to find the most meaningful opportunity for them to pursue?
That's a really great question. So the question was, there's all these opportunities. Do we have any advice for students to figure out the best way to have some meaningful connections on campus? I have some ideas, but I know you all are in it, so please share.
Well, yeah, I encourage folks, because you can tell people to look at what's online, and there's a whole lot of it. But generally, it's like, come talk to somebody. If they see any of us, or they see anybody associated with any of these offices, they're not sure. All of us are focused on helping us to do whatever makes sense for them. So when students stop by our table, for example, we ask them about themselves. We say, what are you interested in? What have you done before that you'd like to keep doing? Or do more of? Or what would you like to know more about to consider choosing? And we ask them about what they're already involved with, and we encourage them not to, say yes to too many things, but we try to help coach them. I think on an informal basis, all of the staff and all of these organizations on campus are involved in kind of a coaching role.
And I think the internship opportunities, we try to create really meaningful, intentional ones. It's not like filing papers, right? Filing paperwork. But it also is trying to coach students to, you don't have to do everything. You may have done everything in high school to get here, but think about what is manageable and sustainable and for your mental health. And also, when we talk about interns, when they are it's April and they're starting to think about next year, we say, you're more than welcome to apply to continue working with us, but also we realize that college is about trying lots of things out. So there's no hard feelings if you want to move on and test something out, right? Because that's a lovely thing about high school and then college, especially a college that has so much going on. So sometimes it's trying to help them figure out, have those in-person connections and point them to things. Oh, that sounds great. You might want to talk to Aquila about that because I know they offer some great programming over there. So trying to meet students where they're at and help them get a sense of, from our experience of being here and our experience of being in college and in the world, how they might want to test things out.
And in the dean's office particularly, I know everyone kind of talks about this, and one of the things we do get concerned about is the overcommitment. And what I'm hearing in that question is the meaningful ways of connecting, because our students have done a lot to get here. And then once they're here, they feel like I just got to keep filling up things and get my resume ready. And we try really hard to have them explore and get excited, but also to be really thoughtful about what they're doing and helping them know that doing 20 things actually doesn't look good on a resume. But to do a few more things really well and in a way that's meaningful matters more. So we just try our best to help the students and know that some folks are going to get very, very involved in multiple things and others won't do that. But we're just really trying to help students think about a healthy balance. That's something we really think about a lot, and that you can help it too when you're talking to the students about what makes sense. Yeah.
I was just curious, do you, I have a daughter who's very interested in a humanitarian career, and I'm not really sure what path that will take, but I was just wondering, do you have a handful of students, graduates, who will go on to Peace Corps or JVC or something like that? Would that be, would she come to your office, the CLIA office, to maybe explore that, or is that more of a career center, or both?
So the question is about this parent has a daughter who is interested in humanitarian work and is asking about where's the best place for the students to go that are interested in that type of work, if there's like Peace Corps or other types of places. I think absolutely we have a lot of students who do that work. We have a lot of students do all different types of things, but in addition to the folks on the stage here, we do have a fellowships office that is really good at helping students kind of figure out those particular pathways and how to get ready to put in their applications for these and how to build toward it. And then the Career Center is a great place. The Dean's Office kind of gets people to the right areas, but the Career Center and fellowships is probably the best for that, some of those internships and post-graduation work.
And there's kind of a tag team relationship there. So when folks have gone to the fellowships office and have said, I think I want to do X, Y, or Z out in the world, they'll say, well, let's look at what you've done already, what's your experience, what are your interests, and then oftentimes we'll get a referral back where they'll say, well, why don't you go talk with Clea about this program or that program or this winter study where you can learn more or experience more to help you decide, because even within humanitarian work, there's a wide range of possibilities. So a student trying to explore would get support from any of these folks. There's really no wrong door. You can start with the dean's office and those folks will refer, and then along the line, people will get referred to what they should do now in the interim and then to apply.
And I know the Davis Center is really hooked into all of that as well.
I have a question about electrified transportation. We were talking about sort of rail and getting back and forth. I know there are level 2 chargers scattered throughout campus, and that's wonderful. I was wondering if there's any possibility for a fast charging on campus. And then if students are going to be bringing electric cars here, instead of them parking it at a level 2 and then forgetting about it, is there going to be parking with outlets so they can just trickle charge and not have to worry about their batteries dying while they're focused on their work?
So I just want to repeat the question. It's related to electrified transportation, specifically around the kinds of spaces on campus that we have for electric charging. Right now we have level 2. Are there going to be some more expansive types of charging, particularly ones with where you have multiple places where you can park, and some are fast, some are regular, and I think Michael might be able to answer this. I have a plug-in myself, so I think about this a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I think our first level 2 chargers, we installed them like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and we were sort of doing some studies to figure out where we should go. And right now, it's just such an exciting moment because like the conversations around electric vehicles are increasing, and the number of people that have it on campus and the number of visitors who come. In short, we're working on level 2 expansion and sort of looking at where there might be possibilities for fast charging. The question about trickle charging, so just plugging into a sort of an outlet for a slower charge, we haven't really explored that all that much, although that's interesting. As of right now, we have charging stations. We partnered with the town. There's some chargers in the town lot at the bottom of Spring Street. They're in faculty and staff lots throughout campus. After 5 o'clock, those are open to anyone. We have those in visitor lots too, next to Sawyer Library. We don't currently have one in the student lot, and a few years ago, we're like, we need to change that. There's, Rachel had mentioned the registered student organizations, so our clubs, the RSOs. There's a RSO called Alhambra, which is a student consulting group, and we've worked with Alhambra, our office has worked with Alhambra to look at electrified vehicles for our grounds team. And right now they're in the middle of doing a study about where we should put additional they're chargers that are connected to, not to the grid, but to a solar panel, that we're getting one installed in a few weeks in a faculty and staff lot, and we're gonna have one installed in a student lot too, that would go into a lottery. It's more dependent on the sun. Usually when solar's connected to the grid, we're not worrying about that as much, but when it's connected right to a charger, you'd have that spot for the year. But we're really actively looking at how do we need to grow this program in a way, both thinking about the speed of the charging, but also the locations.
One more question. You mentioned the Office of Fellowship, that helps with fellowships, which is really fantastic. Does that include also students looking to seek for grants or other types of resources that help them pursue courses of study or pursuits outside of the classroom as well, or is that all sort of in the fellowship?
The question was about the fellowships office and if they also offer some support or resources related to taking courses for study at off-campus. Is that what I'm hearing? Pursuing things. So they do, the fellowships office does help with all of those things, but I also believe CLIA and some other areas do a lot of that work as well.
Yeah, well, when it comes to, well, actually all of our offices, when there's identified opportunities for a grant, maybe it's a research grant that students are eligible for, maybe it's a paid internship, an opportunity over the summer, all of us sort of track that stuff, find out about that, and then share it out with students. And sometimes we have stronger relationships with particular grant providers, and we can, to the extent that students have gotten those same grants before, help people learn from other students who've gotten them. And I know that Davis Center does the same thing, and then we do a kind of a tag team. If we see something that's an opportunity for a student interested in environmental work, we'll make sure that the Zilkha folks know about it, and vice versa. So, and same with the Davis Center, there'll be opportunities. So there's a wide range of those that come into campus. And the fellowship office is often the first stop for even the folks that are looking for students, but we try to support those efforts as well.
And I had mentioned earlier, the Zilkha Center for the Environment has these funding for unpaid environmental or sustainability internships out in the wider world. So it's a summer program, so students can apply for that.
And CLIA actually runs its own granting opportunity with faculty in various offices, various departments, and that's the Sentinels Fellowship, but that's around public policy research. So there are a variety of those sorts of things that happen, and the PI program is one that provides substantial support for students that's both academic and in the community. So.
Great. Well, this has been a really good discussion. I appreciate this. And coming up next in a few minutes, we're going to have President Maud Mandel and Gretchen Long, Dean of the college. So stay for that, please. But if, again, you need a stretch break, totally fine. And thanks again. Thank you to our panelists.